More education is not always the answer, at least not in the traditional sense. Stay tuned and you'll see why. So a little while ago, I was talking with this guy. He's traveled around the world. He's worked for a massive company, and he's highly educated, has multiple degrees, very specialized, knows what he's doing. He's traveled internationally for work because he's that good. And we were talking about business and what he's doing, and he's like, yeah, I'm a little concerned with the company I'm with, not sure they're making all the right decisions. I'd really like to strike out on my own and do my own thing, is what he was saying. And he was hoping to be able to transition to do a lot of consulting and be able to build up a business around this consulting idea. And then he said something that really, from my perspective, was like, what? Wait, really? He's like, yeah, I think I need to go back and probably get this degree, and then I have to get this certificate, and then I could probably become a consultant. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a second, dude, do you realize how much education you have? Do you know how much experience you have? Do you know how in demand you actually are right now, even without that next degree, without those couple of more certificates? There are so many businesses that, even aside from his specialty, they would want his brain because he has trained himself and he's been in these places and he's learned so many things. He has such a wealth of knowledge. I was shocked that he thought that he had to go back and spend another 2-3 years in education in order to be able to open up a business. So if he doesn't need education, what does he need? And I think that there's a few things that we need when we're in that same situation where we're doubting who we are. Maybe imposter syndrome is a good phrase for it, where we're like, oh, I just don't know if I'm really good enough for X, right? And I think there's a few things that need to happen. First off, we need to take a step back and recognize that we have skills, we have abilities, we have experience, we have expertise, and that those mean a lot already. Oftentimes, we'll get in this situation. I have a good friend who will always say this. He'll say, oh man, yeah, I thought it was going to be really complex. And then all I had to do was this, and then I did this thing, and then I did this thing, and this thing, and this thing. And he lists like 9 things that he did. He's like, so it wasn't really as hard as I thought it would be. It just seemed really daunting at first. And then he downplays it as soon as he understood the process to do it. It was like, oh, well, that's not special. I could do that, so it's not cool. I'm thinking to myself, my goodness, you're in like 1% of the population. You were able to take something scary, break it down into 9 steps, do it, perfect it, master it, and we're talking high-end stuff. So another friend, same situation. As soon as someone has it mastered, they think that it's not of value because they don't value what they have accomplished and who they are. So I think that's one of the major things we need to do, is we need to, as individuals, we need to take and shift from discounting what we can do to recognizing what we can do is cool, it is unique, it does put us in a position of value, and that we should accept that. The second is, just because we have these skills, we have these abilities, we've gone out and gotten the education, it doesn't mean much unless we have people that want that service, right? So you have to have supply and demand. Anyone who took Economics 101, guns and butter, right? Remember those graphs? You have to have supply and demand in order to make something work. You can't just have a supply of knowledge and expertise without having a corresponding demand for it. So it's critical that when you're in that position, it's not that you necessarily need more education as much as you need to have a network. It's all about who you know at that point. And the more people you know, the more valuable you become. How many people have written a bestseller and they were already super famous before, and all they had to do is show up? They probably didn't even write the book themselves. They had some ghostwriter writing the book. They almost didn't do anything, but because they're already established as a known entity or a famous individual, they can go out and become a New York Times bestseller. It doesn't matter what's in the book. It doesn't matter if they actually had anything to say. Just who they were, and so many people knowing them, created the value. So that's the second. Have that audience, have the people that respect, understand who you are, know who you are. And then the third is to go out and make an offer. If people don't know that you're offering that service, if they don't know what's available as a choice, if you've never told anyone, then how can you ever expect anyone to buy? I had someone the other day, and he was putting on this great presentation, and he said, all right, so you go out and you figure out all these things, and then you build CRM, then you build a website, and then you go out and figure out how to do payment processing, and you register with the state, and you do all these things. How much time have you actually spent selling? How much time have you actually spent in that moment asking people to buy? For many people, they'll go through all this process and never take the time to actually do the most important thing, and that's to ask people to buy their offer. So if you're in a position where maybe you're thinking about starting a business, maybe you've already started it and it's struggling, whatever it is, maybe you just doubt yourself, take those 3 things into consideration. Your expertise has value. You need an audience, and you have to have the guts to make an offer.